about understanding the business. All of us have been in meetings at one point where you're sitting with a brand manager and you're wondering, like, how do you not understand the value of what I'm bringing to the table, right? So this makes me ask, who needs the education the most? Is it the manager? Is it the brands or the brand managers? Or is it the artist?
Okay.
Yeah.
Eloka.
Okay. While we're waiting for look, Abuchi, I beg, who do you think needs the education the most? Because I know you talk to a lot of brands regularly. So do you think the managers need more education? I know we need, everybody in this circle I just mentioned needs education, but who do you think needs it the most?
So, hmm. So this question is loaded. It has layers. So I think there's something very important we need to understand is like there's a shift in culture.
Mm.
And because there's a shift in culture, is a new terrain we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
So the brand managers, this is new to them.
Mm.
Because let me give you an example. If Olamide is saying, I'm going to do a show in Agege, Easter, he just needs to post twice or three times, and Agege Stadium is going to be packed out. But if a brand is going to do an event activation in Agege, the budget for communication alone is going to be like, let's say 30 million, and just the road to it. And so understanding the power the artists have, so when you're coming to negotiate, the brand manager is thinking, okay, you have a great point, but I can't bank on you because there's so much potential, there's a risk. So brands too want to play safe. So they're like, okay, I need you, but this is what I'm used to. So because this culture is new, like there's no case study with the culture. Like to have like just having this conversation, like even going through your page, like just going through the last video we did with the Asage,
Yeah.
the information I got from that video was more than what the whole knowledge I got from the whole management business before I entered it. So even to them, there are no case study. So if you enter with the brand case study, like we're working with a cola company, just having conversation with them for them to take risk to move towards this direction, they have to go study the brand case study. It's going to be at this year the brand did this, at this year this is what happened. So it sort of mitigates their risk. But for us, what we have is results. But and sometimes like because they're not previewed to maybe the start, the result we see. So it's hard to bank on that. So at the end of the day, it's all risk. So that's why sometimes they play safe, sometimes, but I would say for sure, anytime that between the brand and the talent and the management find the sweet spot is always epic. So let me give you an example, like Run DMC with Nike. That's one of the best campaigns I've ever seen. Massive. See Rihanna Fenty Beauty, massive. See, down to, I was talking to the guys at Techno. The guy doesn't like using Nigerian guys, but he was like, I can't justify the video, but I know that once we did the video, our phone sold out. So for him, he's going to bank that. So it's like finding that sweet spot, but it's like who takes the risk? I think the question is like, how do we create the industry that is comfortable for the brand managers to come take the risk? And again, on the artist manager side, the few people when they enter the room, like you're there to pitch, you're there to sell. Because first of all, you have to realize that this brand manager, if he's like a big guy, he makes 500K a month. And you want to collect, let's say 10 million for an activation. I'm not sure he's really happy to give you that. So it's like, how do I negotiate my way through this process? I give you what you want, I get what I want, I'll keep on moving. And then start building case study.
Okay. So we need more case studies that we can forward to the brands as reference. Fantastic. Hey, Luca, before your breaking transmission, I was asking who needs the education the most? Is it the artist? Is it the brands? Or is it the managers? in your opinion?
I think all need the education, right? Because I think we're at a point in our industry where we're kind of like breaking new grounds. A lot of things that are happening now haven't happened before, right? And it's not enough to take the blueprint of how it's done in the Western world
Yeah.
and duplicate it because it wouldn't work. We've tried it before. We see it wouldn't work. We need to understand the fabric of the music, the fabric of the culture. So even if some of these brands were started off probably in the US or wherever, and they're now in Nigeria, they need to understand the fabric of the culture. They need to understand how the people perceive things. They need to understand how the people consume things. And on the music manager's side, they need to understand how to interface between the artist or the brand that they represent and the company or the organization that they're trying to kind of do business with, right?
Yeah.
And the artists on their own end, they need to understand how to should I say manage their expectations, because I'll say sometimes the artists, they expect so much, right? But they don't understand that you have to pace yourself, right? You don't start from 0 to 1 million, right? You start from 0 and then you hit 10 and you hit 20 and you hit 50, then 100, then 1,000. So I think is on both ends and even on the manager's side as well to kind of be the person that provides the right platform and kind of like manages the entire situation. So we're still learning, I'll have to say, because we're in a territory where we haven't really, been on before. And music in Nigeria and Africa in general is growing. And we've seen a lot more collaborations between artists and brands, bigger collaborations, international collaborations, and not just, continental collaborations. When I say that, I mean like in Africa alone and Nigeria alone.
Yeah.
We've seen Wizkid doing campaigns for Nike. We've seen like things have changed, like from 10 years before when we started, when we could hardly even get an endorsement deal. And if you got one, it's almost like, you were doing black magic, right? Things have changed considerably. And I think we're moving in the right direction. We just have to always keep our minds open to learn and try to add more value. It's very important to add value and know the value you bring so you know your worth and not just estimate, I say I'm worth 10 billion naira. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, that makes sense. And once again, the good thing about talking last is because, obviously,
The next one, yeah, first.
No, both. That's not the point. both points they make are basically, they're both points are entwined as one, and then it's a matter of how you break them down. So I will do the 3-pronged thing because that's what it is. It's the brand. It's the brand itself, and the brand itself, we're talking about the corporate brand itself, right? And then there is the management, and then there is the talent. So who needs to be educated the most? There's no answer to that. What I mean by that is not one person needs to know more than the other person, right? Because there are too many elements involved, and obviously the elements differ with brand.
Yeah.
So, but let me start with the brand themselves in terms of by what we mean brand here. Obviously, is the corporate brand. So, for example, obviously, we know years ago, 15 years ago or so, when we had the mega jams, right, and the treks.
Yeah.
Like Eloka mentioned, there's been a growth, there's a new norm, there's been a metamorphosis of some sort in terms of brand affiliation. Which, if you ask me, most of these things are primarily supposed to be determined by the brand involved. What I mean by the brand involved is, if, for example, the companies the alcoholic beverage companies who get to sign talents. I say brand affiliation because you need to, as a brand, trying to get an endorsement from a talent, because it's not the brand that is endorsing the talent. It's the talent that is endorsing the brand.
Yeah.
That's the mistake people make a lot, and it's terrible. So So what the brand needs to understand is, if you are trying to get a particular talent to endorse your brand, a particular SKU in your brand, you have to align with the brand, the talent's brand.
Yeah.
So it's across board, right? What that means is, if, for example, you want to use a what's small doctor to sign him on for a gold circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A condom brand, more like. You want to sign small doctor for a condom brand. Your target is, what are you doing? Are you trying to do brand sales? Are you trying to? Is it numbers you're trying to do? Are you going to attach to those numbers? Are you going to attach quality? What I mean by quality, I mean premium nature. So are you trying to upscale your brand? Are you rebranding? Are you raising price, or are you just searching for numbers? So what you would do is, you sign him on, and then you begin to do activations, right? Do activations somewhere else. But you're not going to take a small doctor and say, okay, you know what? We want to sell this condom in VI.
Yeah.
We want to sell it in Ikoyi. So we're going to target the market in Ikoyi. Well, let's be real.
Yeah.
His
street.
His fellowship,
Yeah.
right, is Agege. It's on the mainland. It's on that end. So you will have people say, okay, because Small Doctor is using this condom, I will use it.
Yeah.
Not because Small Doctor holds on to the condom and takes a picture and says, use this condom. So the brand needs to understand how to utilize the activations for these talents in terms of reaching out. So there's a problem there. So unfortunately, I cannot explain what has happened with a lot of brand managers over the years. I don't know if they failed to do the right research or the right survey. Only a few brands we've sat down and worked with have been able to achieve an initial plan. So they come now, they tell you, will sign you, come, let's do this, let's do that, and they bring a plan. Unfortunately for them, sometimes agencies are the ones who come up with these plans, and they don't align with the brand direction. And even if they do, sometimes they don't align with the talent's direction in terms of brand and in terms of milking it. This young man called Abuchi gave a very simple example. If you want to do an event and you want to shut down Agege, there are only a select number of talents you will use for that. Brands who want numbers for their product have to go for those talents. But importantly, this is the middleman. I'm skipping to the second one now. There is nobody more important in this conversation in terms of trying to make both parties understand than the manager. The management, more like, because obviously management is the personal manager and obviously the business manager. So those conversations would need to be had, obviously with the PR person too. Although unfortunately, I don't think we have people in the PR industry in Nigeria we don't have more than 2 or 3 people who know exactly what they're doing. So, and you gave an example prior. So it is now left for management to manage the conversations between the brand, corporate brand, and the talent. Now, what I mean by that is, if you walk into Abuchi called it, I can't remember what he called it, for a pitch. Now, if you go in for a pitch, sometimes you are called by a brand to come and sell a product, right? Via this method. It is left for you to, as opposed to saying, okay, you know what, we'll take it. We'll give it because you want the money. Right? Let's take it, let's do it. And then your artist is finding it difficult to keep up after a year of working with the brand. So you're telling him to handle this, and obviously it's not his style, it's not. So the manager is in charge at that point, or will try to reverse decisions or adjust decisions or meet halfway. So the manager says, okay, you know what? Yes, we like your idea. We know you want to target your product. It is your brand. You will not go amiss with your brand. But I also think you should look at the talent you want to sign on and say, okay, wouldn't you want him to handle the promotion, the brand brandishing? Wouldn't you want him to do all these things seamlessly, basically organically? right? So what that means is if you will give him that, your modus, your MI, your MO rather,
Yeah.
right, for the entire rollout plan has to be something that the talent can manage
Yeah.
for a while without looking like he's forced
Yeah.
to hold that brand and endorse that brand or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that is the second one, right? That's the second person. So we've talked about the brand themselves, the corporate brand, and we've talked about the talent. I mean, the talent manager or management, right? Then the talent is also key,
Yeah.
which is where the manager also stands to be able to explain.
Yeah.
So it's easy to educate, but the time and the how is where the problem comes in. You can never, as a manager, get tired of trying to explain to your talent
Yeah.
what the benefits are of brand affiliation, because no matter how you look at it, is brand affiliation is major key. So if you are able to constantly speak to your talent, and I use examples every single time, PDD, who else, 50 Cent, these guys at some point gave numbers to alcoholic beverages that they didn't think they could ever get by simple impressions online. Hashtag this, hashtag this. So even if they're in their bathroom lying down and they take a picture lying down in the bathroom, saying something as odd as that, right? And they post it on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever it is. The last thing, and maybe not the first, obviously, but the last thing they'll do is put a hashtag of the brand there, right? Create those impressions. Those are numbers that you cannot ignore. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, it's as much as your question is difficult to break down, it's also very basic.
Yeah.
And like I said, 3-pronged. So the person who, even the manager that you might think needs to know a lot, might need to be taught, right? Now that manager can also teach the talent, right? So, but importantly, the brand that needs to sell its product, right, needs to know what direction it needs to push.
So I'll give you guys like an example of some situations I've been. So we consider, I'll give you a real example.
I have a lot of real examples.
Yeah,
too.
like Beverly Naya, right? One of the things that we make a bulk of our money from brand activations and working with brands, and one of the things that I've learned to do with brands, we consider Beverly Naya a premium brand, right? The target audience is very clear who she can engage. And I remember going to a particular meeting and they were like, oh, so we're going to need you to post a few things. We're like, no problem. Then when it was time to post, they sent us the artwork. And I remember calling the brand manager to say, we're not going to post that. And he goes, but we're paying you. And I said, exactly. You're paying me. Do you not want the best? Or do you not want to get the most of this payment you're getting? And he was like, what do you mean? So I actually sat him down to explain that if I post this thing, engagements are going to be low. You want engagements to be high. So there's a reason her fans follow her. And this is what I mean when I say teaching the brands. Because I think there's a lot of, as Abuchi said, this is the way we know how to do it. Right? And if you change it, it's going to affect what we know is supposed to be the outcome. And I'm saying, well, if you take a little risk and work with us, let us tell you how her fans would react. And this is not us developing how you talk to another artist or another talent or another celebrity. We're saying for her to help you sell your product, this is what we will do. So I said, you know what, give us one of the 5 posts that you want. Let us run this experiment. And then if it doesn't work, then you can come back and we'll do your way. And he said, fine. So we did that. Engagements were high, conversations, and they were like, oh, okay, you know what, next time. So now I'm part of their marketing meetings. And I think that's part of the process of educating the brands. It's difficult, to be honest, because there's some brand managers and some brands that don't want to hear what you have to say, right? It happens. But I think there's a need for that.
Yes.
There's also a need for managers to consistently educate themselves, because the truth is, most artists won't listen to you if they don't think that you can add value. Yeah. It's not like they're being pompous. It's just like, look, I don't feel like this person knows what he's talking about. So your role is to answer calls and follow me to show, right? But I think with the moment you're able to develop yourself to the point where you're adding value, it's easier to then tell your artist, I think this is a bad idea. I think we should do this. And then from the artist, I honestly think that most times we this might sound very controversial. A creative person, most creative people think emotionally, right? So the way I've read a text and I've given to a creative person to read the same email, and they're like, what kind of nonsense? I'm like, no, this is not what they're saying. Because when they think about it, they're thinking through it emotionally. Very few artists are not emotional or as emotional. And I think when you learn that, it's easy for you to then help them when you're having conversations. You don't throw all the information at the artist. I remember an artist who told me, you don't do much. And I said, I can't tell you every time I get a no, because it will hurt your feelings, right? And the person said, I want to know. 30 emails in. He was like, can you remove me? Can you remove me from this email? I don't want to hear. I don't want to know. So those situations happen where you teach them gradually.